show because that's how I got my interest in this music. Was through listening to the radio, and I ended up having this big collection of stuff, and I think, well, we should probably do something with it. And at that time, they had just started a school station down in Greece, it's a suburb of Rochester here. One of the high schools down there was a English teacher, and he started a class on broadcasting, and they set up this little 10-watt station, and he was looking for people from the community to contribute programming. So the timing was just right, and he said, sure, we're interested. I got down there and I started up this show about in 1974. I think it was October 16th was the first one we did, and it was great. It went for a few miles in either direction. And the people in the Irish community, the ones that could hear it, liked it. So it kind of took off. And then a couple of years after that, maybe 2 or 3 years after that, 3 years at least, the station decided to try for higher power. So they did get a boost in their power, which allowed the signal to transfer around, at least around through the city here. So you could get it in different places except behind the hill. So I know people who got in their cars when my show was on and used to drive around to listen to it. and then go back home when it was over. But yeah, that was an interesting start. And then all of a sudden, it must have been in the late 70s, I forget what the date was, I should have looked that up. The school board cast their eye on the radio station and said, I wonder if we can make money on this. So then they made that decision, and we had to start paying for our airtime. So we went to the Irish community and said, okay, I've got this problem. And the Irish community was excellent at that time. And geez, we started holding these annual fundraisers where I was able to make enough money to pay the annual airtime bill based on one dance. And of course, back then, the Irish community was mostly the Irish immigrants who just were crazy about their dancing and their music, and it worked out great. So I used to get no problem. I get 300 people at a fundraiser and come out of there with my pockets bulging. And it was that carried on through into the 90s. We still had to keep raising money for airtime. And one point, see, we had a local band in town called the Rutherford Family Show Band. Their mother and father were both Irish immigrants. Our mother played the piano, and the kids were all musical, and they did a great job. They were a real Irish show band. They played for all the dances all the way across the state, and they used to have a fixed gig down in the Catskills during the summer, and they'd come in there and they would just play for these fundraisers, and they wouldn't take a cent for it. It was their donation to keep the radio show going, which I suppose they got a lot of tunes out of it too. It was just great to have that kind of support here locally. Everybody chipped in, and the ladies put on the bake sale, and the guys tended the bar, and it was some great times and great parties we had just to keep that thing going. And that some point in, must have been around the end of the 80s, the station in its infinite wisdom decided that they were going to switch to a jazz format, and they shed all their ethnic programs. They had a lot of different ethnic programs on, not only mine. So then I switched stations to another local station, which was more of a gospel station, and with them for a few years. However, that was a commercial station, so then I could sell commercials. So as well as having some fundraising, which I had to cut back on at that time because a lot of the Irish community were kind of drifting off. But I could sell commercial time, and it was a really pain in the neck. I hated it. I hated to ask people for money. It just wasn't my thing. So, but the support was there, so we kept the thing going through the 90s. And at the end of the 90s, I had another opportunity to switch stations again, because this commercial station that I was on was thinking of going out of business. They were going to be bought up or something, and it was imminent to decide what you're going to do. So we found a spot on the U of R station, University of Rochester, and that was, they broadcast through the local PBS station, so which meant that there wasn't any requirement for paying for airtime. So I got back on that basis, which was when I started out. I didn't have to pay anything to put the show on, which was a huge relief. And about that time, my oldest son got interested in it too, and said he'd like to help me with it. So John and I kept doing the show from 2000 on, up until last June, and at the WRUR University of Rochester station. And we would broadcast from WXXI, which is our local PBS station, and that worked out great. Had no problems at all. And we kept the format pretty much the same. You know, I'd play a song and then a set of tunes, and we'd play for requests, anniversaries, birthdays, parties. We had a calendar of local events. People could come on the show and talk about whatever they wanted to talk about. Do that.
Did you have live musicians come in at all and play?
We had live musicians come in once in a while, local people and people passing through town. Yeah. Once in a while, this was back before the U of R, because the U of R didn't have the capability, but when I was on the commercial station, we had a remote unit that we could use. So I could use this little tent and go out at the local Irish festival and set up and broadcast direct from there. Cool. So we did that a few times. So it's been a mixture of different odds and ends things, and kept new material coming in. The collection kept growing, growing and growing and growing.
Did you play on your radio show at all, your own music?
No.
No.
I did play our tape, as we had made, the Blackthorn material. I had some of that. I did play that, but I never bothered to play on the air. I don't know why not. Never just never got to do it. Never bothered. So that was we had a great run for 43 years.
That's great.
I did that show, and it was still missed. I miss, people just past weekend here, they came up to me and at the various functions we were at, say, "Geez, you really missed that radio show."
And were you the only Irish radio show in Rochester?
Yeah.
Yeah. And could they get other radio shows from other cities at all, like Buffalo, or was there anything in Syracuse?
No, not from them so much, but there was the Thistle and Shamrock.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
They were able to get that sometimes when it was broadcast. There was sometimes when they did broadcast and sometimes when they didn't.
Sponsorship or something.
Yeah, whatever. I met Fiona when she was in town here for some function a long, long time ago. Nice lady. We had a nice chat about broadcasting. But it was interesting to meet the musicians. The groups that came through, and we got Cultus. I should tell that a little bit about that story too. Back in '73, we the Harps Club is still going strong here in Rochester. Now the Harps was the name of the local GAA team.
Okay.
They fielded a football team and a hurling team. And I used to, we used to, Virginia, we'd go to all those games, and they were in the North American League, so they used to travel around to Buffalo, Syracuse, Rochester, Cleveland, Toronto, and Montreal, I think, were the teams that were in the league. I can remember going to Syracuse several times, and we liked the Syracuse games because the local band here in Rochester, which called themselves the Harps Band, they were the ones that played at the club every weekend. They were the ones that went down to Syracuse and played for the party after the game. So they'd always have, at the Harps Club here in town, they'd be playing for that. After the game, everybody would go back to the club and have a dinner, and then they'd play the dance music. Which they did at the same thing in Syracuse at the Hibernian Club there on Getty Street. But the Harps Band was George Walker, whom I mentioned, the two Finucane brothers, that picture up there, and the little guy in the back playing the drums, Johnny Parks, was a Scotsman. As a matter of fact, he was the drum major of one of the local plate bands here. The two Finucanes, Jim Finucane there in the front, happened to be married to my wife's sister. So he was kind of my brother-in-law. And his brother, behind him there, Tommy Finucane, who also played the fiddle and the mandolin as well as the accordion. Jim Finucane had an amazing talent, and then he was one of these guys that could hear a tune a couple of times and sit down and play it well.
Yeah.
Like real soul music. Just gorgeous stuff. And all those people are gone now. But that was the scene back then. How'd I get off the radio show? where was I? Yeah, I was talking about the radio show, and we got off of that. I got off of that when we started. I got off into the Harps Club there when I started talking about back in '73, because at that time at the Harps Club we had been gathering for a music session there, kind of haphazardly, sometimes on a Friday night, but there wasn't anything organized on it. So '73 I sent out a letter to all our local musicians, and we were really blessed in this community in that there was at least a dozen traditional Irish musicians from Ireland here in this town. It was pretty amazing. I think there was only one in Buffalo, and I think there was not even that many. There was one in Syracuse, but the guy didn't come out very often. He didn't play out in public. He played more for himself. So Rochester had the music scene. So I sent out this letter and I said, well, let's meet the second Friday of every month at the Harps Club, but we know there's going to be music that night. So that started the sessions, and that came, we had excellent luck with those sessions. People came from all over the place, and visiting musicians came in, and it was a great time. I can remember one night we had 17 fiddles going in there. Another night we'd have 3 hammered dulcimers. There was another night we'd have a guy come in with a trumpet. One time there was 3 stand-up bass players. It was just a guy once in a while. Yeah, that guy with the trumpet was. There was all kinds of musicians came in there, and we just had a great time. And they all got along great. Never had a problem there at the Friendship Tavern. Well, we started out at the Harps Club, then the Harps Club burned down, so we moved to this little pub down the street called the Friendship Tavern. And I kept that thing going for a long, long time. Right up until this past year. And there's so much going on, there's so many sessions in this area now, that the second Friday sessions kind of tapered off and people stopped coming to them. They never started until later on in the evening, and that was old-fashioned then. People wanted to start earlier. So that just recently now we lost the oldest session we had, one that I started in '73.
Wow, that's a good run.
But as a result of those sessions, guys in New York found out about it, and I started getting hounded by Bill McAvoy down there. You might know, probably know Bill. He was Mr. Coltus there in the States for years and years. And he found out about our sessions up here. So he used to call me up and harass the hell out of me. Join Coltus, join Coltus. And I was like, Bill, what do we need Coltus for? We're doing our own thing up here. We're doing great. We don't need Coltus. So anyway, nobody wanted to be bothered with an organization. They didn't want to elect officers and stuff like that. Well, finally in 85 or 86, there was a group of people came knocking on my door one night and said, okay, we're ready to join Coltus. We'll take care of the officer stuff, you'll be the chairman. We've got a branch going here and it's been very successful. We've done a lot of good things. We have an arts day once a year at one of the local colleges, and we got our local musicians to come in there and teach classes on their instruments, all free and open to the public. Several different kinds of instruments. Myself and one of the other guys have done the accordion thing for the years now. They teach dancing, they come in there and teach language, singing, classes and everything for a full day. And they play for gigs around town. Sure, they advertise Coltus. They run dances, they run Kayleys. It's been very successful.
Great.
So we kept that thing going, and it's still going great. In 1986, he officially joined Coltus at that time then.
So for your radio show, what was the name of your radio show?
The Irish Party House.
Irish Party House. So it was the same name all the way through?
Same name always, and I used the same theme song.
What did you use?
Since I started. I tried to change it once and I got so many calls I had to go back to the old one.
What was your theme tune?
It's a medley of marches, the Campaigner March and a couple of other marches. It was recorded by Fred Hanna.
Mm.
You know Fred Hanna's band?
No, I don't think so.
It was a Northern Irish musician.
Okay.
I had one of the excellent Cayley bands.
Cool.
And his records are all back there as well.
Nice.
But that medley of marches it was very well done and made a really good theme.
Cool.
So I used that for a long, long time. I got to know Fred in later years, correspond with him and that, and he played a musette tune piano accordion, and made some really good music. But he was a real musician, a musician's musician kind of guy. He could play all kinds of music, and did, and recorded lots and lots of different tunes.
Did he immigrate over here, or was he just over in Ireland?
Did he what?
Did he immigrate over here, or was he in...
No, he stayed in Northern Ireland.
Okay.
He died there just a couple of years ago. Yeah, he sent me some of his recordings over the years too. And he was surprised that I was still using his... The only place I've seen that record, actually, is on one of the little extended play 45s that he issued. It was on the Beltona 45, and he issued a couple of them. One special Scotch, one special Irish. Fred Hanna's band, and there's some LPs that are back there too by him. Yeah, I got to know a lot of the musicians that used to come through town here too, because they would come through with the Coltus tours, and later on they'd come through with, having a concert. Our Coltus group used to sponsor the concerts of Irish musicians, and we'd let them know, if you're in the neighborhood, call us. If you're traveling through here one way or the other, let us know and we'll get you a gig. Otherwise we could never afford it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
A place like Rochester, you just couldn't.
Yeah.
But we got a lot of them, and we put them up here at our house.
Oh, okay.
I've housed more musicians over the years than I can remember. And I keep saying to Bridgie, geez, you know, we should have had a guest book for those guys.
Yeah,
Oh,
I guess
yeah,
book or just
yeah.
a picture.
Oh,
yeah.
Pictures, we've got several. We got
Yeah.
most of the pictures,
Oh,
I
that's
think. But I wish we'd kept better track of it.
Yeah,
and we
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
really keep track of that.
You don't think of it that much back when you're doing
No, I
it.
mean,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
you're looking for a place to put these guys, and
Yeah.
you want to meet them and so on.
Yeah.
But we've fed an awful lot of musicians in here and housed them, as well as the lecturers that came through for the IACI tours,
Mm.
Cultural Institute people.
Mm-hmm.
We put them up here too, and that was another experience, you know, meeting all these top speakers that come over from Ireland. It was great, you know.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Ted. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ted.
Yeah.